I realized that the asthma that I experienced when I had moved into our new home, our dream home, was the result of all the off-gassing of all the products in that house. I've realized since then that mold and mildew is a huge trigger for allergies for myself and for a lot of people. It can make some people extremely ill, and they may not even realize that's the underlying cause for their health issues. The products we put on our bodies, all the chemicals.
Hey guys, it's Mandi with Global Hemp Association. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I'm excited about the opportunity to build a relationship and connect this supply chain. I mean, after all, that's why we started the association. Our association was built on the foundation of connecting supply chain, building relationships, and helping you grow your business. Anyone from farmers, manufacturers, and distributors, people that are passionate about the supply chain, and those creating products selling into biofuels, plastics, textiles, construction, and building materials.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm really excited about today. I know that I say that every single day, but after I was just reading through your bio, Linda, it just gave me a little bit more excitement than normal, because this is something that is so needed, and the education and getting knowledge out there and the way you've gone about it. But before we get started, for all of you that are joining, please drop a note. Let us know where you're coming from. Also, we've done a little bit of research, and half of our viewers are not subscribed to our YouTube channel. So be sure that you hit subscribe and the little button that reminds you when we go live. We go live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at this time. And so make sure that you subscribe so that you're aware of all of our future events and interviews, great interviews just like this. So Linda, thank you very, very much for joining me today. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'd love to introduce yourself, and where did you come from before getting into this industry?
Sure. Thank you, Mandi. It's really great to be able to talk with you this morning. Quickly, my background was I majored in art in college, but I had enough sense to go into graphic design so I could actually get a job when I graduated from Florida State. And I was very fortunate to work with some great publishing companies as an art director for magazines and publications, and some graphic design work on the side. But I was starting to kind of burn out a little bit on it by the age, as I was hitting 40. And I don't know, I was looking for a couple different things to do, maybe open up an art gallery. I did a lot of volunteer work, which was great. I had that opportunity to do that. But I also knew I wanted to move into something to, challenge myself. I went to a film festival in Durham called Full Frame, and it was nothing but documentary films. And I picked up a catalog there for the Center for Documentary Studies at Duke University. And I thought, all right, let me take the first class, the seminar, and see how this goes. It became then, whack us upside the head that, okay, this is what I got to do. And it's a 2-year certificate program, had some wonderful instructors, and went on a crazy journey of making documentary films since then. And that was that was 2005 that I finished that program.
So I have a question. I'm not artsy. Like, I love to decorate. I love to work with my hands, woodworking, but to paint a picture it's just not been my thing. Sing a song, any arts and music. So tell me, what does a program like this include?
Well, it's everything from classes such as the art of the interview, okay, to how to direct your film, technique with equipment, lighting, camera work.
Okay.
But they don't tell you a lot of things. Maybe they do now, but there was a lot of things that I learned just after making films and learning the hard way. And a lot of that is, how do you get your film distributed? How do you get an audience? The film festival circuit, impact campaigns, money management, budgeting. I mean, there is so much to it. So a lot of it was just, and learned a lot, believe me. I'm still learning every day.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. So after you went through school, then what?
Well, while I was there, I met she's probably one of my very best friends, but also an incredible, talented cinematographer, Blaire Johnson. And Blaire had been working at Barnes & Noble and pulled off the shelf Jack Herrera's The Emperor Wears No Clothes book. She became very much just huge into the whole hemp issue. And she's kind of whispering in my ear a lot, hey, you know what we should do? We should make a documentary about hemp. And I was a little resistant to the idea because I wasn't even really, I myself was pretty ignorant back then about the entire topic. So she'd talk, about all the time, and I'd listen, and it's not exactly what I thought. Okay, that's what I really want to make a film about. And I did some other films, before that, but then I happened to pick up a newspaper, USA Today, when I was getting a coffee one morning. I don't even buy that newspaper. I was buying it for my husband then. And I saw on page 2 this beautiful house with this, nice looking guy in front of it. And it said the nation's first hemp house. And it was built in Asheville, North Carolina, where Blaire and I live. And I thought, wow, this is different. I had no idea you could build houses from a product made from hemp. And that for me sparked my interest. I'm like, okay, now I want to look into this a little bit more. And I realized, okay, I should have been listening to Blaire because it's an amazing plan, as you know, as probably a lot of listeners know. But that was back in 2010. And we looked into what was going on around the world because there really wasn't much happening in the United States, of course. I mean, 2010, this was groundbreaking. And I will say I'm so proud of our state in Asheville because the first several hemp houses built in the United States are all in that area.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool. We're first in flight and first in hemp houses. So, we went.
North Carolina's doing a great job. They've got some incredible companies. Shout out to Dave Camby and the Westtown Bank, one of our sponsors, actually. Shout out to them. They're up there. And so Drew's up there. Yeah, I've met so many incredible people from North Carolina.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people here doing good work. So we ended up going to the International Hemp Building Symposium that next year in 2011. And that's when our minds were blown. I was like, what in the world? Why is this happening everywhere except in the United States? Well, we know why. But we just got so inspired by so many people there. Tony Budden from, Cape Town, South Africa, people from Switzerland, Steve Allen from Ireland, and all these amazing people from all over the world who were into this issue. I got to mention Monica Bruner too, because what an amazing woman, and we went to Spain and we went to visit and film all these people. And it bringing that back to the United States to show people, that just became our mission then. We're like, we've got to let people know that we've got to legalize hemp, and we have to do something to make this happen here.
Okay, so what did that journey look like? Tell me about this documentary you've made for anybody who hasn't seen it, and where do we find it?
Yeah, sorry, we haven't even mentioned the title yet. It's called Bringing It Home. And I think I probably should have named it Bringing Hemp Home because it probably would have made it much more clear from the title. But for us, it was about bringing back something that had been here before. Yes. And especially connecting to the housing issue a little bit, even though we cover a lot of different uses of hemp in the film. But we ended up for the next 3 years getting that film made and working our butts off trying to raise some money to make it happen. And, in the end, I think I was so proud of what we were able to do on a very frugal budget and get that film into some festivals and win some environmental film festival awards. And then it really became about our connection with the organizations at that time that were, again, working so hard to make hemp legal: Vote Hemp, Hemp Industries Association, Hemp History Week. And it was just so wonderful to be in that group of people at that time and to travel the United States with the film, to let all these grassroots organizations use it as a way to inform their legislators and to get people on board with supporting the legislation. The Farm Bill in 2014, of course, was such an important step and something to really celebrate, but there was still a lot of work to be done after that even. And
yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so you've now edited the film. Is it a little bit shorter? Tell me where are you at now in this process?
Yeah, so here we are 10 years later, and I'm finding that people are still coming back to me with comments like, this film still has legs, it still makes an impact, it still is the best thing to really educate people about industrial hemp and all of its uses. So, but we knew that we had to bring things up to speed a little bit. So I've gone back and re-edited it to a little shorter length. It's 40 minutes now, with some of the legislative updates and some facts and figures that are updated a little bit. That you can find on the website, bringingithomemovie.com.
Okay.
And I am asking for a donation of, $1.99 to watch it, or you can buy it for $4.99. Or, if that's just not within your means, there is a free version on YouTube. It's longer and it's not the last one, but it's still great and it still holds up and still has a legislative update piece in it.
Okay. So you said bringingithomemovie.com.
Right.
Okay.
And then on YouTube, the YouTube channel is Bringing Hemp Home.
Okay.
So if you type in Bringing Hemp Home on YouTube, you'll find our channel there. And
I'm going to just put that in the chat also. Okay, so tell me what have been some of your best experiences through this? What's really shook you, or your aha moments as you've gone through this journey, both with the experience or the influence that you've had and the film has had, as well as, like, for me, realizing when plastics and hemp kind of crossed paths, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I could talk for hours, obviously. I've learned so much in the research. And I was telling you before we started that Bringing It Home completely changed so much about my life for the better. Mm-hmm. I realized that the asthma that I experienced when I had moved into our new home, our dream home, was the result of all the off-gassing of all the products in that house. I've realized since then that mold and mildew is a huge trigger for allergies for myself and for a lot of people, and it can make some people extremely ill. And they may not even realize that's the underlying cause for their health issues. The products we put on our bodies, all the chemicals. I mean, it's hard for me not to get on a soapbox sometimes, a hemp soapbox, because I want people to know they can live a better life by their buying choices. And it's not that hard. I mean, especially now, there's so much more products out there that are healthy for you, and especially ones that have hemp oil, hemp seeds, all the nutritional part. And again, it's just, sometimes I just want to I wish I had a bigger forum, thank you for letting me talk. But, the best thing we can do is talk to each other and talk to our friends and our neighbors and our family. And I have been able to turn on a lot of people just by saying, hey, we drink hemp milk, we put hemp protein in. It's really made my hair feel better, and it's made us, my husband's super athletic. He loves the hemp protein powders, and and doing DIY products with hemp oil and things like that. So it really changed me. I mean, I kind of laugh. I kind of became the person I used to make fun of.
That's why I enjoy talking to people.
Wearing the stocks, going to the health food store, buying my hemp seeds, but honestly, but there's nothing to make fun of when it comes to your health and your family's health and your baby's health and
the environment.
In the environment. Oh my God, the environment, right? Carbon sequestering products. So all of these things are touched on in Bringing It Home movie. Bringing It Home, the documentary. I was the editor, and I was determined to hit so many points in that film. And I want to read you something from, if you don't mind. I got a wonderful, wonderful little note from, I hope I say her name right, Heba Siddiqui. And Heba, have you interviewed her yet?
No.
So she's become the founder of Green Takeover. And she's really on a mission to educate corporate and business leaders about industrial hemp and hemp's uses, and also the carbon sequestering properties of that. So, I think you should talk to her. And I love all the fact that these women are starting up and getting these businesses going. Anyway, she wrote me this sweet note. She saw Bring It Home with her mom. And she said, Mom watched the hemp film with me and kept asking me to stop as she confirmed what she just heard and was mind blown multiple times about hemp's powers. Mind you, I've been spouting hemp info for 6+ years, so it was beautiful to see her raw reaction to how you've strung it all together. Thank you for that. I mean, that makes me feel Like our film, our little film that we made back in 2010, 11 is still, actually it was released in 2013, but it's still moving people and it's still educating people.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's, I have similar experiences, but often I heard something on your show which made me dive into it a little bit deeper, and now I feel comfortable talking about it to the buyer or my boss or whoever that is, right? Along that same line, and it means what we're doing is working, right? The goal is to start this conversation and get the message and moving it forward, and so it's rewarding, and I appreciate everything you're doing. I think this is something so needed and needs to be shared everywhere. I would love to see it in schools.
Well, we do have an educational distributor, and that is the proper route. Now, that's not the latest version. So again, but that's actually, they do have one that has the legislative update in the beginning, but that's for schools. If you could please purchase it through Bullfrog Films.
Yeah.
And they did have done well with, I think, a lot of colleges bought. Very nice reviews by some college professors, and that they're so it has. But again, yes, I think all kids should see it. Actually, it's great for high school kids. And I know we only have an hour, but again, one of the most probably moving experiences I've had with that film is in the Rocky Mountain Women's Film Festival does a program where they show documentaries to some of the high school students in the schools that are the oh God, I want the proper word. Not the school that have the kids that have been moved out of the public schools for one reason or another.
Sure.
And it's such a special program because these kids have come from so many diverse and difficult backgrounds sometimes, and I walked in, and so then they invite the filmmakers to come talk with the kids after they've seen these films, and the kids have all been assigned to do a project about a film, one of the films that they watched. So I walked into this auditorium, and on the one big wall was nothing but posters about hemp. And I was just like, oh my God, all these kids made these amazing posters. And then some of them did presentations, and it just blew me away, but they got it so fast. They understood it was just something that's just a plant that's healthy for the planet, and it's healthy for your, food and replaces trees. I mean, they totally got past the giggle stuff, and that's what I love too, is that I think we got to give kids more credit. They can totally understand this at an early age.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe they'll change they are the future, and the faster we can get product and some foundation, to the industry into their hands to move it forward, they will. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out how to speak more about your film without giving away all the goods of the film.
Okay. No worries.
I'm really curious, what are some of the key points within the film that maybe have been skipped over or are missed or not understood about the history of hemp and where it's going?
Well, I think most people know what hemp is. They kind of remember, the older folks, especially, like when we talk to some wonderful farmers in North Carolina, I mean, they totally remembered when hemp was a crop here. And they understood that, the Navy was really advocating for hemp growing at that time period to supply, more ropes for the Navy ships and everything. It's such a valuable resource at that time. And then, of course, there's just all this conflation with, marijuana that, again, nobody probably watching this needs to know the story. But I do think that most people didn't realize maybe the complete story about why it went away. And some of it has to do with cotton becoming a crop that just became more easier to grow and easier to process, and that part of it. But then not realizing this sort of back and forth irony about policy and growing hemp. And one of the factoids I love so much in our hemp history minutes is that the Pentagon is on property that hemp once grew on, by Leicester Dewey, who was a botanical researcher for the U.S. government. And, and it's those ironies that you're just like, how does this happen?
Right, right.
You just shake your head like, what the heck? And why are we still struggling so hard? Like, what is, but that's okay, because things have shifted so much in the last since then. And that when I found out there was a U.S. Hemp Building Association, I like jumped for joy. I was like, what? When did that happen?
I just met with her again, and their team, she's incredible. But Jacob also, all of them.
Yeah. And then I looked at who was like on their board of directors, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look at all these people. I have no idea who they are, but I'm so grateful for what they are doing and all the hard work and getting these certifications. And please support them. I know they're in a big fundraiser drive right now to try to get the money to get the certifications for, building code and the ASTM and, all, that's the technical stuff of building, where if you don't have, until industrial hemp and hempcrete products have those, architects and the contractors are just going to be like, oh, it's still just such a little niche product. And yeah, it's nuts,
We talk about this all the time. The construction industry in general is slow moving at change, right? The training, the labor, the man hours, the cost that goes into disrupting a process in that industry is a lot. And so, yes, that adds to the reservation. And then not having the standard or the specific or the general certification, to cover for the entire industry.
Yeah.
It's
getting there though. I think people are more receptive to hearing about it. I can see the shift a little bit when I'm talking to people about hempcrete, and people get excited about it. I mean, that's another thing. Most people have no clue what it is, what it does, but you can explain it really quickly, and they're amazed and they want to learn more. Like you said, you just hook them, and I think if we just need to hook more people in the building industry. But as Kevin McLeod says in Bringing It Home, there really is a dinosaur mentality when it comes to, unfortunately, a lot of, I don't want to generalize that there's a lot of, green builders and that are looking for new ways to build sustainably and healthy. But I also know right behind me, there's a bunch of developers that's not what they're thinking about.
No. Well, in fact, the number of developers that I've met with say, what's the cost? I mean, I don't like plastic, but I even more don't like the cost.
Yeah.
That really is something that we've got to address. Is it's got to be competitive, and we've got to be able to create it. And to say it can't be done, it can, right? As education has come, we're able to prove the full life cycle and the value on the back end of using hemp. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like what, especially now that you're building a home?
I'm sorry. Can you just phrase that again so I can understand exactly what you're looking for?
You're okay. I'm really good at rambling on during questions because I get to thinking, and there's so many. On the value of the hemp, not the upfront cost, right? Because we're still looking at a more expensive cost. But can you speak a little bit to the value on the back end, through the insulation, the energy savings, things like that, and especially, building a home with hemp?
Sure. And, this is a dream I've had ever since I did the film, is to actually build something with hempcrete. And now, of course, there's other products with the insulation. There's the hemp wool and there's hemp wood. And we're going to build a little showcase house and try to use as much of that as possible. And for us, I think it's about, we know we're going to save money on the heating and cooling of that building. And we're also only buying one product for that wall system as opposed to getting a bunch of drywall and insulation. It's one building stuff. So we, and in the film, it really gets into a little bit more of the technical aspect of why does hempcrete able to save on your heating and energy bills. And that's what, if you're talking about, the return, there are huge buildings and, commercial buildings in Europe that have been able to turn off their heating and cooling systems for months out of the year because they have a hempcrete or a hemp block wall system or hemp panel wall system. Commercial buildings, museums, schools, institutions, these are some of the biggest energy eating monsters that exist. And if you can appeal to a business person that if you're building your next office building, hospital, school, warehouse with this product, and you're going to pay maybe 50% less on your energy costs, that's something. And you're doing something, and you're actually doing something good for the planet too. Like not just, that's the thing. This topic touches so much: deforestation, soil renewal, all of it. And I think the whole package is almost too hard to believe sometimes. It's like it's too much for people to comprehend that it's actually this good, but it is.
I think you just nailed it, right? It's one of those, is it too good to be true?
Yeah.
I think we run into that, and to be honest, our industry's missold it. It has been sold as this miracle crop that it can do everything and it doesn't need water and we don't need pesticides.
And that's completely not right. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think there's this big misunderstanding, and really we did a disservice to ourselves by overselling some of it, right? And I run into this all the time on both levels of, it's like the pendulum swing both ways. I'm still, where I'm at in Utah, run into, I can't tell you, every day I bring it up, somebody is just in complete shock that hemp would build a home or a car or biofuels or clothes.
Right.
We're just like, wait, what? And then on the other side, there's people that are still saying, yeah, it grows with no water and anywhere in it.
It's frustrating. And I have gotten very frustrated, I think, like you, when I see these types of myths being continuously spread on the internet and social media, and even some pretty responsible companies have put out some BS about hemp. That's just not true. And I'm the skeptical person. That's one of the reasons why when Blaire was selling it as the miracle plant, I think I was like, no, nothing is that good.
Right.
But this comes pretty close. It comes pretty close. And it is, I think, something hard for people to absorb, that it really can do is all those products that you just mentioned and more. And we haven't even talked about the bioplastics thing. So like the film, the documentary film that I completed in 2017 was called Straws, and that was about plastic pollution. And so, there is such a crossover between, petrochemicals and, I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here. There is such a huge crossover between the hemp topic and plastic, not only just as a replacement, but just in general about how we can cut back on our use of fossil fuels, and hemp is an answer, part of a set of solutions for that.
Okay, so I'm still curious, because I say this all the time, and I love hearing it from somebody else's perspective about, what are those aha moments in the plastics space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the straws alone, and there's this understanding or misunderstanding, right? Are hemp plastic straws ocean or backyard biodegradable? And are all hemp plastic? There's this big greenwashing mix also that goes into the plastics, and understanding, not all hemp plastic is biodegradable.
Yeah, and I'm no expert on it, but it goes to what is the binder or the resin that is holding the particles together. So you can have a hemp fiber in a product, but you could have some really nasty chemical, toxic resin binders,
Right.
which is not what you would want in something that you're selling as a green product or biodegradable. It happens all the time. I think one of the aha moments for me making straws is around compostable plastics. There's a huge confusion around what that is, and unfortunately, they don't get composted. Some do. Like, you have to send compostable plastics to a commercial composting facility, and there's not a lot of those in the United States. In fact, in North Carolina, I think there's 2 now. And yes, we do have a program or a company that will go around to restaurants that are using those, but and take them there. But the problem is people buy compostable plastic and then they just throw it away thinking, oh, it's going to go away in my landfill or in my plastic garbage bag. And guess what? It's just going to act like normal plastic and be around for a couple hundred years still. It might decompose a little bit quicker, but that's about it. So I hate it because a lot of restaurants, a lot of businesses and hospitality groups are buying these quote compostable plastics or bio products, but unless they're really treated on the back end, after use in the correct way, it's really not any different than, I always say, just use the real stuff.
Right.
what's so wrong with glass, pottery, metal? I don't know. It's great stuff. You can reuse it all the time. You don't have to buy new. I mean, it's just, oh boy, Mandi, I could go on and on and on about plastic, but we're here to talk about hemp. So,
well, they're two and the same, right? I mean, this is the cool thing about hemp is hemp hits every single one of these: the plastics, the petroleum or oil and gas, and energy sector, the automotive industries. And I look at, the biocomposites and the value. And I saw the article that came out recently from BMW that's, putting hemp in their dashboard and reduce the weight of the dashboard by 17%. Oh, I think I lost you for a second.
Probably the internet connection. Yeah. So on the other hand, there are a lot of good companies that are doing the right way to do bioplastics. So I think what it is like anything else: research, read what's on the label. They should definitely say if it is a bioresin as well, and that's what you want to look for: something that's plant-based, natural-based.
Okay, so outside of standards, right, and the work that the U.S. Hemp Builders Association and ASTM are doing, what do you see the real need or focus? Where do you see it needs to be for the supply chain development?
Oh, there's so much happening right now, and I can't even keep up with it. But it's happening. I mean, it's so exciting to see the movement around the United States right now. I think the shift going back to growing hemp for fiber and seed that we've seen now in the last year, I think is so positive and encouraging. But we know in the industry there's a long way to go. The other encouraging thing that I'm really thrilled about is seeing the investment that's happening. I think it was really tough for companies before in the last couple of years that were trying to raise capital, and to see now millions of dollars being raised through platforms like WeFund for companies that are trying to get the processing facilities off the ground, trying to get hemp building materials off the ground, made. That to me speaks volumes about the awareness that has increased and the interest in those companies, and the fact that people are getting it. And I do credit the fact that finally people are paying attention to carbon, in our atmosphere that has affected a lot of people. It's not just, you can't ignore what's happening.
It's not just the crop or just the farming now, right? It's a much bigger picture. When we talk about this value on that back end, carbon's a real conversation. And it's interesting to me how many people, even in our industry, are not thinking about that piece yet. And to build our business model around it, I think would be foolish right now. However, to understand it's like the icing on the cake, that's another layer of revenue for our farmers, or opportunity to move product into a market that already exists because of that credit. Becomes
well, and that's the thing, is that in the film, again, in Bringing It Home, we have experts that are talking about that not only is it the plant that is absorbing the carbon, but also the finished hempcrete product is still contributing to that. And so, hemp as a carbon negative building, hempcrete as a carbon negative building product is just, there's very few construction products out there that can match that. But the added bonuses on the health side, I mean, we talk about costs in this country, the cost of healthcare, that people are constantly going to doctors to deal with all these multitudes of issues.
Like allergies, mold, fumes,
all of that. So living in or working in a building that's healthy reduces all of, that will help bring all of that healthcare cost down. That's the big picture. Like I said, you can't really sell it that way, but we know that that's what can happen. Right now, we have a mold and mildew crisis in this country with buildings, and it's been around for a long time. But now I'm seeing news stories that I've never seen before at the level of discussing residential dorms at colleges where the kids have to move out because there's mold and mildew. Schools. I mean, Sanjay Gupta we have it quoted in our film that back then, even in 2010, a third of our schools had mold and mildew issues. You talk about all these homes that have been ravished by hurricanes, all of the water damage, all of that leads to mold and mildew. Now, not every single human's going to react the same way to that, but a lot of people do. And it can make some people devastatingly sick to the point where they have to really detox from any exposure to that.
Listen, you are speaking. We have some members who are very affected by this and have lost family members because of it.
Yeah,
and
it's tragic.
And you see it more and more. The people that are sick, and the sad part is it's not visible all the time.
No, it's not. It's getting away the walls.
Right, and it's hard to identify then, and by then it's too late, or you just don't know when. Yeah.
And so and it's not just that you could build a hempcrete wall system, whether it's panel or block or hempcrete. You have to also deal with everything else that's on the inside too. But it can really help mitigate and reduce the chances that will ever happen in that building or that house. And the other articles I've been seeing is affordable housing, especially being at a horrible rate, these poor conditions that we're putting people in who are already compromised probably in some way health-wise, and then sticking them into a building that is got mold and mildew in it. It's making them sicker.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a vicious cycle.
It's terrible.
This is where we have real impact. In fact, I've got another member over in Hawaii who has a nonprofit who is focused on building affordable, low income or affordable housing. I don't know if it's necessarily classified as low income, but because with hemp, it can be done, and they last longer. I hate using the word sustainable because sometimes it's misconstrued, but I can't tell you how many tribal homes I've seen and been in that are just falling apart because they're poorly made. And so that again is another vulnerable network of people or group of people that can absolutely give a longer lasting, higher quality product or home. Yeah.
And once that supply chain, once the supply chain starts happening more around the United States, but again, the education piece has to happen. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is, I don't know, if we all sort of, those of us who have the knowledge can just help share it with our city council members, with our affordable housing committees, Habitat for Humanity, with doctors, physicians. I mean, if you can just really start, talking about this issue, I think, the prices are going to come down. I mean, I wish we could be building our house with North Carolina hemp shift, but it's probably just not going to happen, unfortunately. But I am really thrilled to be working.
I hear that as a challenge.
If somebody can have it, although that's going to be up to Cameron McIntosh's decision, because we're going to be going with the great. Yeah, that's up to him to decide. But maybe the next. We're kind of like doing maybe multiple buildings on the property. So maybe the next one will be, maybe the hemp wool or the hemp insulation will be fiber that's a little closer.
Eventually it will be.
It will be.
The word that you have to say that you grew that home or you built that car from the fiber in your ground. And I mean, that's what Americans, that's what we're all calling for. It's what our consumers want, is that story.
Sure. Everyone's affected right now, or most people are affected by hearing about the stories about our import system has slowed down.
Yeah.
So relying on all of these products from overseas, this is forcing us to really look at what are we doing. We have solutions and good ones, so that we're not constantly importing things from overseas, because that adds to the cost too. Yeah. All the time, and we don't. So it's exciting. I am thrilled, believe me. Having made this film as long ago as we did, and to see the movement and the development and all of the wonderful things that are happening with lots of people that I wish I could meet all of them and talk to them. But I just want to give a shout out to everybody right now who's got a hemp business or starting a hemp business with fiber and seed. Is risky, especially any entrepreneur has a lot of risk involved. So I'm so grateful for all these great companies that are emerging and growing right now in hemp.
Oh man, I'm gonna second that. Shout out to all of our members and all of the industry leaders and people both getting into it, exploring it, sharing the conversation. It's thank you.
Yeah.
It takes an army. And I say all the time, I'm in this for collaboration because we all have to rise. We all have to come up to a standard or a quality of service within our industry so that we can grow and we can expand. So pretty excited. Okay, so what's on the horizon for you? What do you have coming next?
Oh, well, coming up real soon. I know you're gonna. I have to. So, one of my other things that I love are our pets, of course, and our dogs. And so I think all of us started doing things we never did before during the last year and a half. And I started sewing. So I'm actually making these little hemp fabric and recycled denim dog bones. Whoops.
I'm impressed.
And I'm making cat toys too, though they're not done. And I'm doing hemp seed dog biscuits and selling them at a craft show this Saturday in Wilmington.
Okay.
Cool stuff. But yeah, I just, when we go to talk about, we talk about human health a lot, but our dog and cat health is, people love their pets. Now talk about an industry that's booming. Pet products. But the thing is, I've been in Petco and PetSmart. I'm sorry, I'm shouting them out. It's not their fault. The products that are available are made from plastic, and it's cheap stuff, and we all know where it comes from. And I think we care about our pets so much, and yet we're putting toxic things in their mouths, especially when it comes to toys. And so I want to show the example that there's an alternative. We can use natural fibers that are instead of plastic. And so that's just one I like to, it's another way for me to talk about hemp, really. So even doing something like that gives me an opportunity to speak to the public in a way that it's like an entry conversation. Talk about your dog, talk about your cat. Now I'm going to hit you up about hempcrete.
Exactly.
Hey, did you see this house in Asheville that was built? Look at that thing; it's gorgeous. And this is beautiful. This is the house that really such an inspiration for us in our film. It's so that's fun for me. It's not always about being a filmmaker. It's fun to mix it up.
Well, I'm hooked on Wilmington. I went down and spent a week down there and went to that little festival that you're talking about, the Saturday farmers market. And I love that town. I love that little place. So
it's a nice place to be. We're very grateful to be here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. You guys are doing great things. Well, how can people get in touch with you or get involved, donate to your film?
Well, thanks. So I'm just running through all my things. I am on YouTube. The Bringing It Home is on YouTube. It's Bringing Hemp Home channel. And then I have the website bringingithomemovie.com. And that's where the latest version is. It's a little shorter, a little more to the point. You can rent that on Vimeo. You can also see my other films, on By the Brook Films. Filmed. I know there's so many, once you made a few films, it really starts piling up. And there are some Facebook pages. And so, I would just recommend going to the websites first. And
perfect.
Contact information is there. And also I'm on LinkedIn, of course. And I appreciate that you're airing this interview there.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So it will be recorded also and shared on our YouTube channel. And then we convert all of our interviews to podcasts, and they're shared at Moving Forward with Mandi Kerr on 5 or 6 different podcast channels. And so that's pretty awesome. It's available. So anybody that didn't know that, I know I don't share my podcast channel very often, but it's Moving Forward with Mandi Kerr. So Linda, tell me, industry-wise, where do you see big movement happening?
Well, I definitely think on the construction side with building materials. But I think the food market has so much potential, and beauty products. Hemp was such a rarity to see on any label or product. And of course, now we're seeing it because of the CBD. Really elevated the product production. And again, I would just tell people, just read the label and know what you're buying. Just because it says hemp oil on it doesn't mean it's CBD oil. Just because it's, may not be getting what you think you're getting. But hemp oil is hemp seed oil is an amazing product. And I talk about that all the time, that especially for vegans and vegetarian friends of mine, or I will let them know, look, you don't have to, this is a great replacement for fish oil or eating fish. And it's also better than soy protein in many ways. So it's a great way to, get your protein in and your omegas. And that's like essential for our health. These are like big things that hemp can provide. So I would love to see the food and nutrition industry get a little bit bigger with hemp seed oil. And I think now that farmers are going to be growing that more, hopefully we can get some more products out on the shelves with that. It seemed to me, I don't wonder if you think the same, there was more discussion about that 10 years ago. You would see hemp on superfood lists. I'm not seeing it as much, and that kind of like to see it get more promotion and marketing.
Interesting. I didn't know. I'm fairly new to this industry and was really blindsided. I've only been doing this for 3 years, and I've only been doing this for 2 years. And so, okay. Real quick before we close up, I'm curious, can you rattle off or share some quick or a few of your favorite facts, hemp facts from history? Like some things that come into my mind are Ford's car using some hemp, or the flag, or drafts of the Constitution, things like that.
I have to think back to our hemp history minutes, which are fun. I mean, it's one of the things that we tried to make the film very entertaining. It has animation, and a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, that's like our favorite animation we've seen," and it's so fun to watch. I think the pyramids had some hemp fiber in them. So going back that far, knights drank hemp. Of course, most people know that sails were made from hemp. So Christopher Columbus most likely had hemp sails and rode on his ship as he was discovering the world. And I think the other thing, though, like I said, is mainly the irony of our policy in the United States, that at the time during the war efforts, the U.S. government was actually encouraging 4-H clubs, boys and girls, to grow hemp. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite ones too. And then all of a sudden it became bad again. It's just so silly.
And now I'm actually have to give a shout out to our 4-H program, and Jamie Campbell and the National Hemp Association all worked with them and supported them at their conference this year. But I met a group of girls that all presented on hemp and just knocked it out of the ballpark.
That's great.
And they presented a couple of times to our group at Global Hemp Association, and I was in tears just watching grown men so excited to see these kids.
Yeah.
Excited. And then on the flip side, we've had other 4-H programs or FFA programs say, nope, we're not going to, because we don't want to confuse the kids between marijuana and hemp.
No.
So, there is definitely this barrier, but the more that they're out there and the more that they're excited to talk about it and share it.
Absolutely. They get it. Like I said, they get it. I mean, most of the kids I know are smarter than I am, They can understand the difference, believe me. That's why I said high school kids, I think, really respond to this film for that reason, because they get it. The other thing when you mentioned industry that I think I hope will grow, and I think it is hemp plastics, which we talked about earlier, and more car companies start using this hemp biocomposite plastic material. I hate even to use the word plastic and the word hemp together. To me, it's like
composites.
Or whatever the term is. I think that's gonna. I'd love to see American car companies start getting in on this. Why is it all the European car companies have been using it for years? It's time they support
American farmers.
That's right. It's what's more, it's again.
There was a comment made earlier I want to highlight, and Josh, I think he nailed it here by saying that, no, it's great to think that that in the near future, family farms will benefit from carbon offsets. As building materials, hemp can affect reduction in concrete and lumber. The real potential benefit occurs when the acre of hemp grown saves an acre of forest, and the value should go back to the farm. And I think that this is where it becomes powerful, is we're providing our farm at the core of this supply chain another opportunity to generate revenue and to create better practices, higher carbon, carbon in the soil, or better carbon in the soil, reduce the carbon footprint. I mean, there's so much to it. And so I have to give credit back to, the comment that the farm really is at the forefront of this conversation. And without them, we're out.
It doesn't happen, right? It doesn't happen. You've got to support the farmers. And again, I know it's hard for me to keep up with all the news, but I have been seeing that the agricultural departments in many states now are supporting hemp farming and initiatives. And I love the idea of, any incentives or, offset. That helps drive an industry, and that gets people motivated to do something. So,
yeah. Absolutely. Well,
thank you, farmers. Yes, thank you.
I appreciated having you on. I'm excited. For those of you that have not watched the film, be sure you get on our website and find it. I would love to watch it or help you promote it as much as I can.
Thank you.
Watch it, help you promote it.
You already have, so I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. And if anybody has any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. More questions or need for connections. And then however I can help assist in, getting information out. Also, Linda, do you have anybody, that you'd like to highlight or give a shout out to that we haven't already before we close?
Oh gosh, I hate to do that because then I'll leave somebody out. And then
okay.
I just want to give a shout out to Blaire, my Johnson, who, if it wasn't for Blaire, I never would have made Bringing It Home. I never would have made so many changes in my life. And she's just about one of the finest human beings that walks the earth in all ways. She's a beautiful soul and beautiful spirit, and she's going through a tough time right now. And I just want to give her a little love.
Okay, well, I love it. Blaire, we're sending all the good vibes your way. And if there's anything that we can do to support either of you, don't hesitate to holler. Other than that, I really appreciate you, Linda, and we'll check out and we'll see everybody next week on Tuesday. And enjoy your weekend. You have a good time in North Carolina.
Thank you. It's gorgeous here.
Yes, I'm seriously. Yes, I could give you a whole list of people as to why I would want to move.
Well, come visit. Come visit us. Yeah,
I'll be out there soon. Okay, Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll see you later. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone. Bye.